Welcome to part 2 of Project Management Basics. In part 1, we talked about the 5 process groups and the 10 knowledge areas. Let's have a very quick recap. Can you tell me the 5 process groups? Okay, so the mnemonic is I prefer eating mangoes chilled. Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling and closing. Do you remember the 10 knowledge areas? Okay, the mnemonic, I saw 6 chipmunks quietly roasting coffee, reading poetry stories. Integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. Today, we are going through the 49 processes building on top of what we learned in part 1. This will take roughly 15 minutes. Are you ready? We are going to be talking about the processes, going through them by knowledge area. Have your pen and paper ready. Let's talk about integration. Integration is the glue that binds, that helps you move the project along in a cohesive whole. The processes of integration are as follows. Develop project charter. That's where you develop a project charter that authorizes the project. Develop project management plan. This is where you create a plan to guide the entire project. Direct and manage project work. This is where you're guiding the project work at a macro level. Manage project knowledge. This is where you're generating lessons learned. Monitor and control project work. This is where you are checking to ensure the work is going according to plan, and at the same time, you're creating work performance reports. Perform integrated change control. This is where change requests come through the process. You get the change requests, they get reviewed by you, the project manager, perhaps by the change control board as well, if there is one, and ultimately you will approve or reject the change request. Finally, we have close project or phase, which is closing out either a phase in the project or the project as a whole. And that's integration. That's how it works. Let's jump into a few quick process questions. You are the project manager for a cutting-edge renewable energy project. After a series of strategic decisions with senior leadership and key stakeholders, a document has been finalized that officially authorizes the project and grants you the authority to utilize organizational resources. What is the next most logical action to take? I'll let you read the options and decide. All right, well, let's move ahead and select an option. Option A says create a visual hierarchical depiction and decomposition of the project work to guide the team's efforts. Well, that's talking about the WBS, so we're going to use the process of elimination here, and we're just going to cancel A because it cannot be A. Let's take a look at B. B says conduct an analysis to identify and document key stakeholders, assessing their influence and communication needs. Oh, that's not a bad thing to do. Let's take a look at C. Develop a document that itemizes the projected financial expenditure across the project's life cycle. That's talking about budgeting, which happens later on. And let's check the final one. Establish a formal plan that outlines how you will manage, track, and document project requirements across the life cycle. So while D is not a bad thing to do, it is not the next best thing to do, because remember, this is talking about developing a project charter. So what do you do after developing a project charter? You would identify your stakeholders. You wouldn't go into planning immediately. Remember, the way it works in initiating, you go through the identification of stakeholders, and then you have the team, and then the work can begin in earnest. Okay? So the best answer to this one, if you guessed Identify stakeholders. You are correct. Okay, so that's the answer. Conduct an analysis to identify and document key stakeholders. Let's move on to the next one. As the project manager of a complex software development initiative, you've just finished identifying and documenting all key stakeholders, their role, influence, and communication needs. What is the next critical action you should take? All right, now you've had some time to think about that. You've identified your stakeholders. What do you do next? Is it A, create a document that defines the project's deliverables, including assumptions and constraints? Well, that's talking about something from scope management, the scope statement. So what I'm going to do here is hold on to that. I'm not going to delete it immediately. Let's look at B. Establish a plan that outlines how the project scope will be defined, validated, and controlled, ensuring alignment with stakeholder expectations. So that's talking about plan scope management. So it cannot be plan scope management, and it probably isn't A either, because this is talking about a project scope statement, which comes after. C states, draft a comprehensive document that encapsulates all the processes, baselines, and subsidiary plans required to manage and control the project work. It's not a bad thing to do at all. Let's take a look at D. Prepare a plan that details the processes for managing and documenting project requirements, ensuring they are captured accurately. Well, that's talking about what? The very first process of scope, because it says prepare a plan that guides you in your requirements. So that's in scope, and it's the first process in scope. So it won't be this. So C that says draft a comprehensive document that encapsulates all the processes, baselines, and subsidiary plans. That is the best answer. And again, the more you study, even as you are studying now, the more you will end up assimilating and taking away. So the answer to this, my friends, let's get rid of what's on the screen, is this. Okay, I hope you found this to be helpful and informative. I hope it gave you some ideas. If you found value from it, smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.